Good evening. Needless to say, 2020 will forever be remembered as the hardest and most difficult year in history. The sudden and tragic passing of Kobe Bryant, the coronavirus wreaking havoc on this entire world in ways we've never seen before. The Black Lives Matter protests and riots. Lots of close to home deaths, including Kobe, Howard Finkel, the Fink, and unfortunately, we unfortunately have to add another name to that list of close to home deaths of this year. Kobe and the Fink were one thing, but this, without question, hits closest to home for all of us. We were informed this past Saturday afternoon by our own Michael Bullock, and he shared the unfortunate news with all of us in our Wrestling Forum Messenger chat that beloved television host and personality and a personal favorite of all of us, Regis Philbin, had passed away at the age of 88. Regis was best known for serving as the co-host of arguably one of the greatest and most iconic daytime television shows of all time, Live, which he hosted from 1985 to 2011. From 1985 to 2000, he co-hosted the show with Kathie Lee Gifford, and it was known as Live with Regis and Kathie Lee. And then from 2001 to 2011, Regis Philbin hosted the show with Kelly Ripa. And then in 2011, Regis called it a career when it came to that show. He also was best known for hosting one of the most iconic game shows of all time, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? But that was not his first game show experience. He also hosted a little-known game show back in 1975 on ABC called The Neighbors, and was also a contestant on the celebrity version of Jeopardy, and gave us one of the funniest moments in the history of that show, which ironically was relived on Jeopardy tonight. Jeopardy re-aired the episode in which he gave us that unforgettable moment. And he also hosted another game show, another primetime game show known as $1 Million Password on CBS. But what we best know him for, and a lot of wrestling fans will best know him for, was all the wrestlers that he had, whether he was with Kathie Lee or Kelly Ripa. He had several WWF legends on his show, from the likes of Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Bret the Hitman Hart, The Undertaker, Ravishing Rick Rude, Yokozuna, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Kurt Angle. I could go right on down the line. You name a WWE superstar or a legend or Hall of Famer, they were very likely on with Regis and Kathie Lee or Kelly Ripa. Regis is survived by his wife of 50 plus years, Joy, and 3 daughters. And he is sorely going to be missed. And this is a very special edition of Ridiculously Raw. We are going to pay our respects, and rightfully so, to a man who entertained us for so many years, gave us so many memorable moments, and a man who holds the Guinness Book of World Records, who is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being on camera longer than any television personality in history. 17,000 plus hours. Like I said, this one hits very close to home for all of us. For myself, for good old MF Michael Fletcher, who is here with me right now. We are awaiting Michael Bullock. We don't know if he'll be on. I sent him an invite. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him Wednesday night on Wednesday Night Mayhem when we're next with you. But we're going to take a few minutes before we get into our Monday Night Raw review to, pay our respects and share our favorite moments and memories of Regis Philbin. And one other credit that just came to my mind, how silly of me that I forgot about this. Regis had a dream of hosting a sports show because he loves sports. Big sports fan. One of the bits that he used to do on the live show, whether with Kathy Lee or Kelly, was when he would take a newspaper headline, a sports headline, and show it to all of us. That was one of my favorite bits on the show. I loved it when he did that. And he said he had a dream of hosting a sports show. Well, back in August of 2013, that dream became a reality. It was just as Fox Sports 1 became a network. When Fox Sports 1 finally hit the airwaves, he hosted a sports show entitled Crowd Goes Wild. And myself, MF, Michael Bullock, and of course, Derek Ferreira, we were all big fans of that show. We would tune in and watch it every single day when it was on. It only lasted about 8 months. But in those 8 months, it was very entertaining. Regis wasn't alone on that show. He had several co-hosts on that show, including Georgie Thompson, Wall Street Journal columnist Jason Gay, comedian Michael Costa, former NFL defensive player Trevor Price, and a young lady who not only am I a big fan of, but MF is a big fan of as well. Not just for her beauty, but also because she's damn entertaining, and that is Katie Nolan. And man, the hijinks they used to have on that show, awesome. And the first great Regis moment that comes to mind, when it comes to professional wrestling, you immediately think of WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 7, he was a special guest celebrity alongside another game show legend, Alex Trebek of Jeopardy, and also Marla Maples. And Regis did several backstage interviews, including with The Undertaker, Tenaru and Katawa, among others. And I'll never forget when his first moment of that night, he, Marla Maples, and Alex Trebek were being interviewed by another gentleman that we lost early last year, and that was Mean Gene Okerlund. And Regis, told a funny story about Earthquake in a pizza truck and how he hated everything inside. And he said, and that scares me. And Mean Gene simply looked at him and said, Regis, you're beautiful. And he certainly was a beautiful man, no doubt about it. Great moment there. And then, of course, he served as a special guest commentator for the main event of WrestleMania 7, which was Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. He sat alongside one of the greatest, if not the greatest, commentary duo of all time in Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. And oh boy, did those three, oh boy, were they fun. Alex Trebek was the guest ring announcer, and Marla Maples was the guest timekeeper. And the banter that he had with Gorilla and the Brain on commentary was just so fun and amazing. All the great moments he had, and of course, the moment that we saw tonight when Jeopardy when it airs at 7:30 here in our local area. It's not new episodes. Obviously, they couldn't produce new episodes, obviously because of the pandemic, and rightfully so. But they've been going into the vault, and how fitting was it tonight that they showed that memorable Celebrity Jeopardy episode when he was on it. He answered a question day and night, and Alex said no, and he said night and day, and Alex said night and day and night. All right, we'll give it to you. And then Regis said, couldn't wait to say no, could you? No, Regis, no. And Alex said, select again. And he said, thank you, Miss Judge, for overruling Mr. Big Shot over here. And I was like, all right, select again. And he was like, yes, Alex, my dear friend. Oh, man, I got goosies watching that back tonight. It was awesome. And I captured it on video and I sent it to Oleg, MF, and Derek in our personal chat. And one of my all-time favorite moments of that. And of course, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, when all those times where he actually gave away the $1 million. And the most iconic of all of them, obviously, was the very first winner, John Carpenter, when John Carpenter used his phone a friend lifeline and to call his father. And he says, and you remember John Carpenter said, hi, Dad, I don't really need your help. I'm just calling to let you know that I'm going to win the $1 million. And Regis just had that smirk on his face. And then when John Carpenter gave the final answer of laughing, Regis said, my gosh, well, what can I say except, Debbie, you're going to Paris, and this is the final answer heard all around the world. He's won $1 million. And then the fans go nuts. The confetti rained down, and it was an iconic moment. And he gave away the $1 million a few more times. And each one of those moments were very special. And they're all up on YouTube, and you can relive them anytime you want. And loved Millionaire, had a lot of fun watching it. It became a big hit, and it was so successful that they even came up with a daytime version. And there would never have been a daytime version of Millionaire, a syndicated daytime version of Millionaire, if it wasn't for Regis Philbin. And several WWE superstars and entertainment personalities paid their respects, from Hulk Hogan to Natalia to several other superstars, and of course, including Kathy Lee Gifford and Kelly Ripa, and Bret Hart even had some words, and Jimmy Kimmel, David Letterman. I mean, the list goes on. And WWE did a nice tribute to him during Raw tonight, and the Road Show, our local morning show, they had Will Gilbert and Brendan Kirby. They paid their respects to him as well. And I loved watching him on all those shows, and Millionaire and $1 Million Password. That was a fun show as well. And of course, Crowd Goes Wild. I mean, the sports show. I mean, man, fun moments on that show as well. I mean, the Saber Regis segment with Mike Trout, and when he would get questions wrong and Katie Nolan would just laugh her head off. I mean, it was so funny. And then Regis going nuts over it. I mean, it was just hysterical. And there was one other time that Regis came back. They did a sports update, and Regis talked about the country of Turkey and called it Turkey Land. And then everybody just erupted into laughter. And it was that's just how much of an impact he had on everybody. And he is sorely going to be missed. And if there was ever one individual I would have loved to have met, Regis Philbin would most certainly have been at the very, very, very top of my list. No question about it. So on behalf of all of us here at the Wrestling Forum, Ridiculously Raw, Cerebral Smack Talk, Wednesday Night Mayhem, what have you, we would like to, at this moment, send our thoughts, our prayers, and our condolences to the family, friends, fans, and all who were beyond blessed and fortunate enough to work with this beautiful, wonderful man known as Regis Philbin. And as I always like to say when I'm ready to wrap it up, Regis, on behalf of all of us fans who you blessed and you're touched with your wit and your humor and so much more, I would just like to say on behalf of all of us here, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And thank you for Regis Philbin. Rest in peace, good sir. You are sorely going to be missed. One more quick moment, and then I'll give it to MF. That just came to my mind just now. And it goes back to the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire file. And this is a moment that MF and I had a lot of fun with back in the day. The infamous Spin City episode when Richard Kine's character, Paul Lassiter, was a contestant on the show. And he won the $1 million. And him and Regis, I mean, the back and forth that they had. MF and I had so much fun with that back in the day, especially when that first came out 20 plus years ago. One of our all-time favorite memories. So really nothing more to say on this. I think I've said enough. So good old MF, Michael Fletcher, come on in. Unfortunately, you know, we were hoping that this was fake news, but unfortunately it was not fake news. Regis passing away late Friday night, early Saturday morning of natural causes at the age of 88. I mean, Kobe Bryant, Howard Finkel, one thing. But when it comes to Regis Philbin, MF, I think there's nothing left for me to say except I think this one, out of all three of those, hits the most closest to home for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. Regis was a delight on TV, especially for all of us. We were watching Regis and Kathie Lee back in the day and Regis and Kelly back in the day. And, I remember watching that super special of Millionaire when it was only supposed to be like a 2-week trial run. And then it just garnered so much attention and so much greatness. That's why it got its big run that it did. Regis was one of a kind. I think that's the one thing that you hear. You heard all the stories about Joy and his lovely wife. You didn't hear much about the kids, though. You didn't hear much about his daughters. But you did know a lot about his wife because they were always talking about them every morning on the show. And yes, Anthony, you always talked about the sports. If it was, anything that was local about New York. I remember the times when the Yankees won the World Series. He was very proud of that moment. Talk about how they did it, how they won it all, or anything about his beloved Notre Dame. He loved the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. As a matter of fact, one cool moment that was talked about during the Kelly and Ryan show with Gelman was about that he got a special doctorate from Notre Dame University of just a few years ago. And, you're hearing all the tributes. You heard Kathie Lee earlier this morning on Today on NBC, and she was talking about how she saw Reach about 2 weeks ago. And just the great camaraderie that he had for so many people, and even loving the segments with the superstars of WWE or WWF. And, he actually did get involved with some of the guys, as I remember, he actually got put into the sharpshooter one time. Reach was brave enough to take the Bret Hart sharpshooter. It was one of those things that but he had an aura about him. He had a love for life, and I think that's the genuine thing that you're hearing from all the people that's been tributing him within the last, I want to say, 24, 48 hours, is that Reach was his own individual, but he was so unique. He was a guy who was willing to give the shirt off the back, and he never, even though he was a celebrity, he never acted like a celebrity. He never, ever acted like that I was better than you. No. Reach was humble. He was nice. He was approachable. If you wanted an autograph, you got an autograph. If you wanted a photo, you got a photo. He was such a humble individual. Is that what I'm hearing from all the tributes that he's been getting within like I said, the last couple of days since the unfortunate announcement of his death. And Reach is exactly what he was. He is without a doubt one of the greatest showmen we've ever had. I think one of the greatest thrills is he does love sports, and I'm so glad that he got The Crowd Goes Wild, that FS1 did take the chance and bring him on. He was, really good and very funny. It was a great variety for him to see him on a sports show to do what he said he was going to do. And then you had he was a titan in Hollywood. He was a titan in New York, and that's the one thing that it will forever be remembered. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And the one thing that I said to Anthony, to Mike Bullock, and to Derek privately on a Facebook chat was, I understand they haven't done a celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame for a number of years, for at least a couple of years now. We haven't heard about a celebrity going in. This man would be a prime candidate for a celebrity wing induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. And I think he would be well deserved. I think it would be a great honor. And I think it would be a great memory for him to go in, because of the fact of not only the contributions that he's done for wrestling because of all the guests that he's had, but he's also been looked up very fondly with some of the superstars of WWE. I know there was a nice moving tribute by Triple H on social media, and there was a few WWE superstars that actually came out showing their love for Regis since his passing. And that's the one thing that I think we all can agree on, is that this man was larger than life, but he was so humble and so unique that he was absolutely going to be missed, and he is one of a kind. There will never be another Regis Philbin, guys. And that's the one thing I think we can all agree on, is that his stature and his legacy is already etched. I mean, what he did for the morning programs with the Regis and Kelly, or Regis and Kathie Lee, the Live and the Live franchise, if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be anybody that there was. Kathie Lee Gifford, when she started out, everybody just knew her as Frank Gifford's wife. But Kathie Lee blazed her own path with Regis. Kelly Ripa, same thing. She started out as a soap opera actress with, I believe it was All My Children or General Hospital. I believe it was All My Children. But her name became bigger when she teamed up with Regis Philbin. And I think that's the best way to say it. And Reg was a consummate professional the whole way through, from beginning to end. That's the one thing I think we're all going to admire and we're all going to appreciate and we all love, is that this man was truly one of a kind. And my thoughts and prayers are with Joy. My thoughts and prayers are with his daughters and with everybody who has been touched, not just by, the professional aspect, but the personal aspect. People who got to know him, not just, behind the cameras, not just on TV, but, away from it. Who is able to be touched and blessed by this incredible man. And that's the one thing. We only know him because of the TV. We only know him from the live shows, or from Millionaire, or from Crowd Goes Wild, or, we only just know him from that aspect. But I know there is more to this man than just TV and TV shows and game shows and sports shows. And those are the people that really know him. And I know this is a hard one. and this was a tough one to try to deal with. But life can be cruel sometimes. With everything that's going on in this world, but we do truly need to honor the greats, and he is one of the greats, if not one of the all-time greats. Rest in peace, Regis. Thank you, my friend, for all that you've done for all of us. Anthony Flair, there's really nothing more to say. Let's get on to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard to move on from it, considering how much of an effect he had on all of us. And there was one more quick moment that just came to my mind now. Just before WrestleMania 11, he had Lawrence Taylor on his show, and there was a moment where when Regis actually dressed up as Bam Bam Bigelow, who Lawrence Taylor fought in the main event of WrestleMania 11, and I'll never forget that funny impression he did of Bam Bam. I mean, it was just amazing. But nonetheless, unfortunately, as the old saying goes, the show must go on, and the show does have to go on here, and that's what we're gonna do. So, so with all that being said, let's get into it. Monday Night Raw tonight on the USA Network, as always, from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, on the USA Network, and we started it off with an in-ring segment. Randy Orton, and no big surprise, he issued the challenge. He issued the challenge to Drew McIntyre for a WWE Championship match at SummerSlam, and we can confirm that Drew McIntyre has officially accepted that match. So we got our big money match of the summer for Raw. Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, WWE Championship. It's on. We're going to get it at SummerSlam. Classic Orton promo. He was direct with his words and intimidating with his presence to hit McIntyre with an RKO out of nowhere. The segment was short and sweet. We didn't get a response from McIntyre at that moment, but that made sense. Drew still needed to worry about Dolph Ziggler before he can move on to the Viper. The Viper is one of WWE's most reliable veterans. Whether the plan is for him to win the belt or put McIntyre over, he will make the storyline fun. This promo probably would have been cheered by a live crowd. So there was actually a 2-for-1, because immediately after Orton was done, Nia Jax came out, and she cut one of her promo, and then she got interrupted by Shayna Baszler, and then those two just went at it. My goodness, but I know I'm sure MF would probably concur with me as far as the effectiveness of this segment. But anyway, MF, did you want to give a quick thought on this segment? I mean, Orton McIntyre, it's official for SummerSlam. No big surprise here.
Yeah, no big surprise. Look, like you said, it was a standard promo by Randy Orton. Short, sweet, straight to the point, and very effective. I gotta say, 2020, for all the negativity that we've had this entire year, Randy Orton has been possibly the best thing for Monday Night Raw. His promo work, his wrestling work, this has to be his personal best. I mean, we haven't seen this side of Randy Orton in a very long time, for years, as a matter of fact. There's sometimes where he phones it in and everything else. This has been his best work ever. From the situation with Edge, and what happened leading through WrestleMania. Then there was that so-called greatest wrestling match of all time, which actually, for the most part lived up to the hype. It wasn't the greatest, but it was pretty darn good. And now his little thing with the Big Show, now it looks like he's going for the big one, and that's the big fight with Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. So, I mean, this will be very interesting to see. This is going to be very fun. And, Randy Orton has become very sadistic, very vindictive, to say the very least. This is the Orton we've been waiting to see for a long time. We're getting it now, and we're just enjoying it. So sit back and sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride on that one. And then as far as Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, for you know what, I actually don't mind this because Nia really needs a little situation here. So does Shayna. Shayna really needs she wants to call out for the women's title in the whole 9 yards. But as we'll get into it later on, the women's title is in virtual limbo right now. So it's good that they're doing Nia versus Shayna. Let them just fight each other until we can get this Raw title situated. But like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit. So nothing more to say. This was solid. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, and we kick off the wrestling action, the matches, if you will. Triple threat match. We had ourselves a one fall triple threat match. This was not an elimination match. We had the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar, squaring off against Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, and Andrade and Angel Garza. Winners of the match in 12 minutes and 5 seconds, and earning the right to challenge the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championship in the SummerSlam. It's Andrade and Angel Garza. 12 minutes, 5 seconds. MF, how about it?
Yeah, great match, solid fight, 3 stars for me. I think the biggest thing I have to say was maybe you could say the outcome was never in doubt. There was no big surprise here that it is Garza and Andrade. But again, you really wonder are they on the same page? At least tonight, they definitely were on the same page. Garza and Andrade looked great. They get a big win. They get the shot at the titles. And, I think we can honestly say that if you're the Street Profits, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you guys might be in some trouble. Because if Garza and Andrade pulls off the upset, we're talking new tag team champions, and it's very possible. Anything can happen in WWE, and this could be a changing of the guard. We might have history made at SummerSlam. You don't know, Anthony, but this was at least 3.5 for me. So, Floyo, it's yours.
Agreed. 3 to 3.5 stars. I definitely agree with the rating here. While the tag team division has suffered in recent months, this match was a reminder of how much talent WWE has on the roster. All 4 teams, including the champions who are on commentary, are worthy of holding the Raw Tag Team Championship. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins never fail to be entertaining, regardless of the role they are playing. As far as the action inside the ring was concerned, all 3 teams contributed to a fun match. The variety of different skills on display made the bout exciting as we transitioned from the powerhouse Vikings throwing people around to the high flyers putting their agility on full display. The right team won, and the match they will produce with the Street Profits at SummerSlam should be one of the main highlights of the show. So, good start. 3.5. I agree with the rating, no doubt. Then we got Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler. Unfortunately, we're going to have to throw this out and call it a cutout here because they fought to a double countout in 45 seconds. Hoss fight. I mean, you Hoss fights aren't just for the big bad guys. Oh no. This is the first time I can ever recall 2 women having a Hoss fight. And this was be a woman fight. That's all there is to say on that. And I think they could be setting up a triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Very possibly. Or maybe not. I don't know. But if all WWE wanted to do was kickstart a new feud, the brawl in the beginning of the show would have been enough. We didn't need a cheap count-out ending. That being said, it was a physical encounter that allowed both women to look dangerous, and it just didn't add anything to what we saw earlier in the show. So that's really all there is to say on that. Then we had Seth Rollins and Murphy. They came out. Seth Rollins cut a promo and interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio, on behalf of his father, he showed up, and then from there, it just as it looked like Rollins and Murphy were gonna really give it to Dominic. Aleister Black showed up, and Aleister Black ended up taking another beating, and this was bad. Murphy did to Aleister Black what Rey Mysterio did to or I should say what Seth Rollins did to Rey Mysterio's eye in the first place. No need to get into those gory details, although it was not as bad as what happened to Mysterio. It was a lot shorter. But then Dominic Mysterio got a second wind and went after both Rollins and Murphy with a kendo stick. Whoa, okay.
He didn't just do anything with the kendo stick, Florio. He beat the holy hell out of them with the kendo stick. He literally tried to main Seth freaking Rollins, and I loved Samoa Joe on commentary, man.
Yes.
Joe had me going. Rumble, young one, rumble. Yeah. Samoa Joe was the MVP with that segment.
Yes, amen to that. I mean, just amazing. The segment probably went a little longer than it needed to, but it served its purpose well. It furthered two different but connected feuds with Black versus Murphy and Rollins versus the Mysterios. Dominic didn't get to talk, but that may have been for the best. The pure emotion he showed as he stared down Rollins and beat him with a kendo stick was convincing. We will probably get another Black and Murphy match soon, but who knows? Could we possibly see Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam so it can take place on a big stage? But the continued focus on eye attacks is a strange runner, but it is effective in showing how violent the Monday Night Messiah has become since turning heel late last year. So that's all I can say on it. I mean, MF, I think you pretty much spoke your piece. I mean, you talked about Joe, how hyped Samoa Joe was on commentary. I loved it as well. I'll give you that. Yep. But what do you think of that little scenario? Could we see Dominic Mysterio possibly make his WWE debut, maybe against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam? Do you imagine how big that would be?
I actually could see it. Yes, I could actually see that happening. And on top of that, Anthony, you're absolutely right. Dominic doesn't need to talk. I don't know if he can do promos or whatnot. I think just his physical stature, his demeanor, what he brings to the ring, I think that's more better than just cutting a promo. He's menacing enough because he's a tall kid. I mean, and that's the thing. He's a tall kid. He's built too. He's
all grown up now, boy.
He's all grown up, and that's one thing that you can definitely harp on and you can work off of. That's a good storyline that you can have and just build off that. I think you got something special with Dominic Mysterio on that front. As far as Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy goes, or Murphy, but I think you could definitely see that they're not done. They could definitely continue the storyline on that front. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But nah, man, this was definitely a well done, needed segment that they needed it to do. I was thrilled with it. I was very pleased.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Dominic Mysterio, he's all grown up now, let me tell you. And, he's not that sweet, innocent little boy that, won the hearts of all of us back in 2005 when his father and the late, great Eddie Guerrero had their epic feud, and which blew off and concluded with that unforgettable custody of Dominic ladder match, SummerSlam 2005, which ended up, ironically, being the show stealer of the night. But with all the great matches on that card, that ended up being the show stealer. So, and if Dominic Mysterio, if they decide to put him in the ring with Seth Rollins in the SummerSlam, I'm going to be very anxious to see what kind of credentials Dominic possesses. So we're going to hold out hope for that. So we'll wait and see. Anywho, Then we had MVP's VIP lounge with his Hurt Business associates, Bobby Lashley and 24/7 champion Shelton Benjamin. His guest was Mustafa Ali, and it led into a match with Mustafa Ali squaring off against Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley wins the match in 12 and a half minutes. So Mustafa Ali standing up to MVP on the VIP lounge, and then he put forth a very solid effort against Bobby Lashley. And Lashley, not the best worker, but hey, Mustafa Ali actually got a passable match out of Bobby Lashley. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
No, agreed. I think, when Lashley goes against these smaller guys, I think the thing is that the smaller guys are the ones that make Lashley look better in the ring. And I totally agree with your sentiment and where you're coming from. I think at the end of the day that Bobby Lashley really needs to be that destroyer. And the thing is, it was a solid match, but the outcome was never in doubt. If Mustafa Ali would have beaten Bobby Lashley here, it would have been so bad for his storyline. It would have really hurted him in the grand scheme of things. However, with this victory, with this win, this actually elevates Lashley, helps him up the ladder as well, and it doesn't hurt Mustafa Ali. Remember, Ali has just got to Monday Night Raw. So he's starting fresh. He's starting brand new. But he's looked very good in 2 outings already. The 2 matches he's already been in, they've been both 3 to 3.25 star matches. So Mustafa Ali is already benefiting from the jump over from SmackDown to Raw. And it's just, as long as he continues to keep with the storyline, I think he'll be fine. Now imagine if he gets into the ring with Shelton Benjamin. Now that, I think, would be money that would be well worth spent and would be an even better match for me, because I feel like Shelton and Mustafa Ali will have a better match because they are both aerial dynamic. I know Shelton's is up there in age. He's I think he's in his 40s now, but he still is a high flyer. He still is really good, technically sound in the ring. So imagine a Mustafa Ali versus Shelton Benjamin match, hopefully next week on Monday Night Raw. Now that match would be something that would have butts in the seats and eyes on the TV. And definitely, I would say about a 3.5 to 3.75, maybe, of a star potential. For me, that would be my potential, at least 3.5 stars. That's where I would start my baseline on. Now, can you go over that or under it? We'll wait and see. But yeah, no, this was a solid fight. At least 3.25 for me. So Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, 3.25 stars as well. Let's make some sense of this here. Ali is a great character who hasn't been featured nearly as much as he should have been in recent months. So it was awesome to see him get a chance to talk again. MVP was his usual charismatic self on the mic, and Lashley was as physically dominant as we have ever seen. In fact, he seemed more intense than usual during this bout. The match itself was fine, if a little lackluster. When you put 2 superstars like this in the ring together for a 2-segment contest, it unfolds in a predictable way. The powerhouse controls most of the action, while the underdog has occasional bursts of offense. Having Ali lose so soon after returning is an odd choice, but having Lashley lose would have hurt him even more. So this was the only outcome that made any sense. So I'll give him a pass for that one. All right. Now we go on to the match that honestly we thought going in was going to be the main event of this show, but it was not. Very surprising, but it is what it is. This was the big match we were all waiting for. The match to determine the outright undisputed Raw Women's Champion, Asuka versus Sasha Banks. No Kairi Sane, no Bayley. Even though Bayley and Sasha, ran their mouths before the match and the whole 9 yards, yada, 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 whatever. The winner of the match in 19 and a half minutes via a countout. Yes, First time ever I can ever recall anyone winning a championship via a countout. And the undisputed outright Raw Women's Champion, as Karen Coretta Noble used to say on the hit TNBC sitcom City Guys, Lord, give me strength. Sasha Banks is the new champion. There, I said it. I cannot, for the life of me, believe that WWE actually had the balls to do this. And now my worst nightmare has just become a reality. A SmackDown talent is holding a Raw championship, for God's sakes. Oh, Lord, give me strength. Oh. As angry as I am about this outcome, I will say this was the fight of the night, as expected. I'm going to give this about 4 to 4.25 stars. Sasha Banks and Asuka both have reputations for being two of the best performers in the division, but something kept this match from being as good as their Extreme Rules encounter. It's hard to say exactly what it was. Both superstars put all of their effort into their performance. Perhaps Bayley being absent is what made it felt different. However, this still ended up being one of the better bouts on Raw. Their chemistry is undeniable, and the story they told made perfect sense, especially when Sasha Banks tried and failed to emulate Eddie Guerrero's dirty tactics. The finish wasn't ideal, but it worked from a storytelling standpoint. This was really good, but it could have been great. Let's just hope this isn't the last we see these two together, because they are natural rivals. Now then, as angry and upset as I am about this outcome, the only reason why I'm not going 97 Bret Hart or Jon Moxley or any of that right now is because of the fact that I'm praying to the Lord that there ends up being some sort of epic payoff that comes from this. Because if there does not, then soon and very soon, there will be a 97 Bret Hart and Jon Moxley rant coming out of me. I am not a happy camper. This Raw guy is not a happy camper tonight. And why should I be? A Raw championship is being held by a SmackDown talent. Do you have any idea how sick to my stomach this makes me feel? Lordy, 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 lordy. And I could have a fun moment here, but I might be a little reserved here. I would have said, to good old MF, I would have said that you're going to call that a clean win, I suppose. And then MF would say, absolutely, being the SmackDown guy he is. And I would say, of course, great play on a classic Gorilla and Jesse moment from WrestleMania 6. But, it is what it is. There better be an epic payoff out of this. Better be. Because if there isn't, it's go time. That's all I can say on it. So, there's nothing more for me to say. Mr. SmackDown, you got what you wanted. A SmackDown, one of your SmackDown talents is holding a Raw title.
Yes, they are, and history was indeed made. Sasha Banks is the new Raw Women's Champion. Bayley and Sasha can now legitimately say that they have all the gold in WWE. They are truly the golden role models, and I can get away with that because Michael Bullock is not here. So, what I will say is this. There probably will be another match down the line, because the one thing that you did not add, Florio, was that Kyrie got jumped in the back by Bayley, and that's prompted Asuka to run out to go after Bayley, and basically gave up the match, and that opened the door for Sasha to win the title.
And when sorry to interrupt, but when that moment went down, when I saw that going down, the thought immediately went into my mind. I'm like, oh, I channeled my inner Wayne from Wayne's World. I was like, oh Jesus God, no, don't tell me they're gonna do this. And then I got the feeling.
And they did, but something tells me this will not stand. I don't know why. I don't think this will count. I believe Sasha will be declared the champion, but there's going to be one more fight. There has to be another match. Even though I want to celebrate and say that, yes, SmackDown's got all the gold now, but there's also that what if factor. What if Stephanie shows up on Friday? What if she comes out and says, well, technically, yes, you did win the match, but not by the way that we thought of when we made the match initially. So, again, there was another loophole. Bayley tried to create another loophole, and it looks like Stephanie might shut that loophole down. Now we got a situation where we're gonna have a situation on our hands. Now this is the theory that I got. I got two theories. Number one, you do Asuka versus Bayley versus Sasha, and both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles are on the line, where whoever gets the pin wins the belts. Well, it's not winner take all. Let's get that out of the way. So, for instance, if Asuka pins Bayley, she becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. If Asuka pins Sasha, then she becomes once again the Raw Women's Champion. If Bayley pins if Bayley pins, then she keeps her belt. That's fine. If she pins Sasha, she basically claims all three belts. She'd be the first person ever in the history of the company to hold all three titles at the same time. Raw, SmackDown, and the women's tag team title would be in her possession, or vice versa. Or you add Kairi Sane and you do the unprecedented move of putting all the belts on the line. The Raw, SmackDown women's titles and the tag team titles all on the line. Now here's how it would go down. If Sasha and Bayley wins, they keep their respective belts, and that's it. If Kabuki Warriors win, not only do they win the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, because that would be theirs, but the woman who gets the pin or submission would win the respective title of the opponent. Which means, if Asuka pins Sasha, she not only gets the women's tag belts back, but she also becomes the Raw Women's Champion. If Asuka pins Bayley, she becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. Same thing with Kairi Sane. If Kairi gets the pin on Sasha, she becomes the Raw Women's Champion. And vice versa, if she pins Bayley, then she becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. So basically, this would be my theory, my idea, my vision, if that should happen, which would be unprecedented. But I think under these circumstances, this would be the perfect thing to do. So take that for what it's worth. This was definitely 4.25, 4.5. You can call it Fight of the Night. Anthony, it's yours.
Very interesting scenarios, and that would certainly be an epic payoff. I mean, I want an epic payoff out of it, and if any of those were to happen, I would be most satisfied. I would be. So it's going to take a while to you're going to have to surgically get the scowl off my face right about now, because I mean,
you ain't gonna have to remove this Cheshire cat like grin right now because I'm over the moon right now. But hey,
are you gonna call it a clean win? I suppose.
I won't call it a clean win, but they definitely utilized the Eddie Guerrero mantra. They lied, they cheated, and they stole that belt tonight. Brought it home to Team Blue. We'll take it.
Win's a win any way you can get it, right? Of course.
Hey, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. Absolutely.
Hey, you got no right to quote me at all, little man. That's all I can say. Vintage Jesse both on that one. Oh boy. Oh man. All right, let's reel it in here before it gets too out of control here. Next up, we had a fun little sprint here. We had Murphy squaring off against Humberto Carrillo. Murphy winning the match in 6 minutes and 45 seconds with the Murphy's Law. MF, I think I just spoke for us when I said fun little sprint with these two.
Absolutely. This was at least 2 3/4 to 3 stars. Solid match. And yeah, it was short. But it did bring some good dynamics and there was some good wrestling out of it. So no, this was very good. Nice win for Murphy. Elevates him up a little more. And Humberto Carrillo, man, I mean, I feel bad for this kid, man. He started out so red hot on Monday Night Raw, and now all of a sudden he's cooled. He's cooled off, cooler than this air conditioner in my room right now, man. It's comfortable as hell. But yeah, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I got that. I got that going too in my area. No doubt about that. It's amazing. But anywho, yes, 2.5 to 3 stars. I mean, like I said, fun little sprint. I mean, WWE didn't give these two a ton of time, but they packed a lot into the minutes they were given to make this a quick but entertaining contest. Murphy works well with high flyers because he can overpower most of them while matching their speed at every turn. This combo could be turned into a great feud. Carrillo losing doesn't hurt him much since he has barely been featured recently. If Aleister Black is unable to compete by SummerSlam, Murphy versus Carrillo would be a solid substitute. So that's all there is to say on that. All right, main event of the evening, non-title here. WWE Champion Drew McIntyre squaring off once again with Dolph Ziggler. This was a return match from Extreme Rules. Only difference was the title was not on the line. Drew McIntyre was allowed to pick the stipulation, and he made the match what it honestly should have been at Extreme Rules. It was contested under Extreme Rules, as the great Justin Roberts from AEW would say. Winner of the match, 14 minutes and 25 seconds. No big surprise. It was Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre wins the match with the Claymore to get the win. So second best fight of the night. I'm going to give this 3.5 stars for the effort. Waiting another week just to find out this would be another Extreme Rules match was a little underwhelming, but the two men in this bout worked their butts off to make it good. Because McIntyre was able to use weapons this time, Ziggler took a lot more punishment than he did in their previous encounter. He was sent through the barricade, the plexiglass divider, and hit with multiple weapons. The match lived up to their previous contest, and the ending set the stage for SummerSlam. All in all, this was a good way to end the show. And MF, as if Sasha Banks bringing the Raw Women's Championship to Friday Night SmackDown couldn't be any better enough for you. Your man, Randy Orton, does what he has done to so many others over the years. And how do you end Monday Night Raw, the first one to set up SummerSlam? You do it with the 3 most destructive letters in the business. R-K-O, outta nowhere.
It is sweet poetry in motion when Randy Orton hits you with an RKO. And unfortunately, Drew McIntyre, you felt those 3 dreaded letters tonight. And let me tell you, man, it's going to get very interesting. It's going to be fun to see what they're going to do down the line. But, yeah, no, this was a solid match. This was a solid main event. 3.5 stars. You're absolutely right. Second best fight of the night. I'll give you that as well. And no, at the end of the day, they really served its purpose. So there's really nothing more to add, Anthony. So let me just give you my final thought quickly, and then you can set Michael Bullock up. Um, Look, I thought this was a very good Monday Night Raw. This was a solid show. I think Monday Night Raw really had a good week this week. They had a lot of good storyline progression stuff. They really brought a lot of the stuff that they really needed to bring home, and they did a well done job. And I'm really proud of Raw. If I had to give a rating, I got to give this at least a 7.5 out of 10. I thought this was a very solid show, and there's really nothing more to add. So Michael Bullock, welcome to the party, and Floyo, it's yours.
Yeah, hang in, MF, because after we're done catching Bullock up, we're gonna, we'll get into my Tony stick, because I know you wanted to get into the big moment from Impact Wrestling, and I definitely want to get your thoughts on that quickly. So, but anyways, Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get you caught up here. But first off, Michael Bullock, we started the show tonight with our special tribute and paying our respects to the late great Regis Philbin, and we'd like to give you a few moments to share your thoughts on Regis Philbin. After all, you were the one who broke it to us the other day.
Yeah, it was a sad moment in the world of entertainment. I mean, the thing is, anybody you talk to, I mean, they'll mention how they start their mornings off, and what they do is start their mornings off with listening to Live with Regis. Well, whether it was Live with Regis and Kathy Lee, or Live with Regis and Kelly, and he always brought the fun and entertainment. But when he really brought the fun and entertainment was to WWE, and none more than when he was one of the guest celebrities at WrestleMania 7, and where he joined Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, and for the main event of WrestleMania 7 with Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan. But he did some interviews backstage as well, especially with the Undertaker, and many others. But also some of the WWE superstars came on his show. I mean, the list of the superstars that came on the show there's so many of them. Whether it was The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels and Diesel, Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, Yokozuna, Ravishing Rick Rude. I mean, I could go on and on and on with the list of names. But the thing is, they enjoyed being with Regis Philbin. So, and of course, also he was famous for hosting the popular game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's the thing I really. So, yeah. So a sad day for everybody in the world of entertainment. God bless you, Reed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we miss you already, man. Mornings will never be the same without you. As a matter of fact, the whole entertainment industry will never be the same without you. So rest easy, my friend.
Yeah, MF and I, we ran down his resume. I mean, with the live shows and Millionaire and Crowd Goes Wild.
Ironically, Florida, tonight, me and my girlfriend Mary Ellen, we actually were watching Celebrity Jeopardy when he was on there.
And that funny moment that he had with Trebek on it.
Yeah, with Alex Trebek, and of course with the other two celebrities that were on that edition of Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, Carol Burnett and Donna Mills. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, he always brings laughter out of everybody.
Yeah, he certainly did. That's what he was known for. And of course, we can't forget about Crowd Goes Wild either. I mean, how much fun we had with that show.
But for me, Florio, it was basically Live and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Absolutely. And of course, all those interactions with the WWE superstars, all the legends and Hall of Famers he had on his show. So,
and of course, when I sent you those two videos of the two times the Undertaker made an appearance.
And of course, the interview at WrestleMania 7.
But I'll never forget at the end when Regis was checking out that casket, and then all of a sudden, Undertaker doing what he normally does, slams the lid on everyone.
Yeah. So, but he's certainly going to be missed, and we'll say a final goodbye at the end. But anyways, let's get you caught up on what ended up being a very newsworthy edition of Monday Night Raw this evening. Randy Orton, he cut a promo. He challenged Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship match at SummerSlam. McIntyre accepts, so it's on. What says you?
Yeah, I don't think it comes as any surprise to me, Florio, because I think after when he took out Edge and Christian in the Big Show, I think we knew it was only a matter of time before his next target was Drew McIntyre and that WWE Championship. So, like you said, now it's official. At SummerSlam, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, and this is the second straight year, Florio, that I think he's challenged for the championship, because last year he challenged Kofi Kingston for the title, and Randy Orton came up short.
Yes, he did.
Randy Orton hopes this time around that lightning doesn't strike twice again in a bad way.
Oh, it might not. We'll have to wait and see.
But to be quite honest with you, Florio, I just don't see that happening. Drew McIntyre's on a roll right now. I just don't see how you can take the title off of him. If you put the title on Orton, I think you're gonna see a lot of people in the IWC not too happy about it. Well, except for one good old MF Michael Fletcher.
Absolutely. And then Nia Jax came out and she cut a promo and was interrupted by Shayna Baszler, and then Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, they go at it, and they ended up having a woman fight, a hoss fight between two women. Who would have thought that?
Well, did the match actually happen?
Yes, it did. But it ended up being a cutout. It ended up being it was a cutout because it ended in a double countout after only 45 seconds.
Yeah, so we don't have to talk about that, but yeah, I don't think. I mean, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, that was a definition of a woman fight. But if you can actually put those two in a one-on-one match, give them the time, this could be, like you said, a total definition of a woman fight, and maybe get someone that actually could stand a chance against Shayna Baszler.
Definitely. Then we had a triple threat match to determine the number one contenders for the Raw Tag Team Championship at SummerSlam. The Viking Raiders, Andrade, Angel Garza, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander. Andrade and Angel Garza, they win the match 12 minutes and 5 seconds. So Bullock at SummerSlam, Andrade and Angel Garza will challenge the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championship. And as the late Regis would always say, how do you follow that?
Yeah, well, I could definitely say, I mean, this was definitely a good match here, and I'll give it about maybe an even 3 stars on the match. I mean, I think these two are definitely back on the same page. They got the job done, and now they hope for bigger and better things come SummerSlam, where they could become the Raw Tag Team Champions. So we'll wait and see how it all plays out. So SummerSlam is really starting to fall into place now. 2 matches all set, so let's move on.
Yeah, both on the Raw side. So get going, SmackDown. Anyways, then we had the night.
I'm sure they'll count a card Friday night.
Yeah, they'll probably start planning their seats Friday. Absolutely. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the double count out, 45 seconds. Man, was that a fight? Oof! Wow. Then we had Seth Rollins and Murphy come out. Seth Rollins cut a promo, interrupted by Dominic Mysterio, and Murphy and Rollins attack Dominic Mysterio, and then Aleister Black comes in, and unfortunately, Murphy did to Aleister Black what Seth Rollins originally did to Rey Mysterio's eye. No maniac look included, though. Dominic Mysterio got the last laugh because he beat the holy hell out of Seth Rollins and Murphy with a kendo stick, and it got Samoa Joe hyped on commentary, if you heard him. Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, why do I get the feeling that come SummerSlam, I think we're finally going to get to see Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic, get in the ring? Would you say so?
Yeah, I threw out the scenario.
I think it's going to be him against Seth Rollins.
I agree, and I'll tell you, he's all grown up now, and Dominic Mysterio has had a SummerSlam moment before. I mean, you remember SummerSlam 2005 when his father went up against the late great Eddie Guerrero in that unforgettable custody of Dominic ladder match, but ended up stealing the damn show that night.
Oh, I mean, that's something I think neither of us will never forget. But the thing that I really enjoyed the most about that match, the commentary from Michael Cole and Taz.
Amen. Exactly.
I mean, they were pulling for Rey Mysterio all the way.
Yeah, I mean, how many times during that match did we hear Michael Cole on commentary say, "Come on, Ray"?
Oh, well, it wasn't just Michael Cole. I mean, it was Taz as well.
Too. Yeah, but it was
normally Taz is like, "Oh, come on, Cole, give him a chance." But
yeah, but
no,
Michael
wasn't like that.
Michael Cole said, "Come on, Ray,"
and it was like, "Come on, Ray, beat the you-know-what out of Eddie Guerrero."
Yep, and Ray won the match, and we all remember that happy ending. So, yeah, maybe we'll get another one. Who knows? But I mean, could you imagine if they do the match, and could you also imagine if Dominic Mysterio actually won?
Oh my, that could be a SummerSlam moment.
That might be an even bigger moment than his father and Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, let's get back to the action here. Then we had the VIP lounge, Mustafa Ali dealing with MVP Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And then it led into a match with Bobby Lashley and Mustafa Ali. And Bobby Lashley won the match in 12 and a half minutes. Surprisingly good match from Lashley.
Yeah, I mean, this was a surprisingly good match. I'll give it about maybe another 3-star effort here. But yeah, I mean, gotta feel bad for Mustafa Ali though for it. I mean, he loses. I mean, he gets the pinfall in his comeback last week, and then yeah, he gets fed to Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
But all in all, it was a good match. But still, I mean, I think this is Bobby Lashley giving a harsh reality lesson to Mustafa Ali.
Yeah. Now we move on to the big match, the big match for the Raw Women's Championship, the outright undisputed Raw Women's Championship. Asuka versus Sasha Banks. You know the caveats throughout it. Winner of the match in 19 and a half minutes, and the outright undisputed Raw Women's Champion via a countout. Lord give me strength, Sasha Banks. Unfortunately, our worst nightmare has become a reality, Bullock.
Huh. You think it's a nightmare for you? What about for me?
Yeah.
I think it's 10 times worse than what you're dealing with. I mean, to me, I know it's part of the caveat, part of the rules, but still, I don't like the way Sasha Banks won it. I don't like the way she. I mean, especially with Bayley. I mean, come on, she forced Asuka to make a decision: become Raw Women's Champion, not give a damn about your friend, or sacrificing the Raw Women's title for your friend.
Yeah.
And so, what did you guys give it?
We gave it 4 to 4 1/4 stars and said it was the fight of the night. It was the fight of the night, even with the PS.
Well, it is the fight of the night, but I'm sorry. I mean, the way she won it, I'm sorry. I have to take a little bit away. I'm only going to go a little lower, not too much, but a little bit. I'm going to go 3 3/4 to 4 stars. I can't go 4 1/4 just because of the way Sasha won it. If it was, I mean, I know it's part of the caveat, Florio, but still, I mean,
you would have preferred if it was a pinfall or a submission.
Exactly. If it was that, then I would say 4.25. But because of the way she won it like that, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go just a little lower. 3.75 to 4 stars is my rating for me.
First time in the illustrious history of the company that I can recall anyone winning a title by a countout. I don't think anybody's ever done that before.
Well, I can't remember that it was.
There was a disqualification title switch when Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship from Randy Orton at Money in the Bank 2011.
No, I was going there with that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a disqualification. This one was a count. So yeah, this is the first time ever anyone's ever won a title by a count out.
Yeah, and all I can say is right now, Florio, somebody get me a damn aspirin because I'm gonna get a freaking major headache having to listen to these two. I'm sorry to say this, Florio. I know it's your show, but I'm gonna say it. These two bitches brag and boast about it for days, weeks, even months.
Yeah, and God forbid what they're going to have in store for us on Friday night. They're going to probably plan some sort of extravagant, over the top celebration.
Oh, if they think I'm gonna be a part of that, they got another thing coming. Yeah, my foot's straight up their ass.
Okay, Red Foreman from that 70s show. Okay, let's move on. Murphy squared off against Humberto Carrillo. Murphy won the match in 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Fun little sprint here.
Yeah, it was a fun little sprint. I'll give it about 2.5 to 3. I mean, yeah, it was a short match, but in the amount of time that it did get, I mean, I thought it was a fun, entertaining match here. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say, so move on.
And then the main event of the evening, which ended up being that non-title return match from Extreme Rules, the WWE Championship. And it was contested under Extreme Rules. And Drew McIntyre won the match in 14 minutes and 25 seconds, but he didn't have much time to celebrate because after the match was over, bam, Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere. How do you follow that? My gosh.
Yeah, to me, this was about somewhat 3.5 to 4 star match. I mean, this was a good match here to close the show, but yeah, I mean, you knew it was only a matter of time before the Viper struck on the champ. So he sent the first message to the champ. So will the champ retaliate eventually? Could come next week, so we'll find out. So as far as my my final thoughts on the show, I thought it was a good show. I mean, it was a good tone setter to get the ball rolling for SummerSlam, and you already got 2 matches on the Raw side set up. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So, Gloria, now you can get to your Tony steak.
Well, I just quickly need to give my overall review.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah, because MF started it and then you came in. So, anyways, I agree with MF's sentiments. If MF said if he had to put a rating on it, he would have given it 7.5, and I agree with that 100%. 7.5 is my rating as well. Good, very good episode of Raw with some quality in-ring work and some newsworthy SummerSlam developments. I mean, you think about what happened here tonight. I mean, even with the questionable finish, I mean, Asuka and Sasha Banks still stole the dang show with that Raw Women's title match. And then main event was very good, and then you had that great triple threat tag team contender match that was very good as well. And you had a fun little sprint with Humberto Carrillo and Murphy. A couple of good in-ring segments. There were a couple of cutouts here and there, but not too bad. So yeah, that's really all there is to say on this. So let's get into my Tony's take here, and we We start with Impact Wrestling as usual. Once again from the Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. The first Impact Wrestling after the Slammiversary pay-per-view. And we started it off with an X Division Championship match, a return match from Slammiversary. Chris Bay defending against the former champion Willie Mack. Chris Bay successfully defends at 5 minutes and 37 seconds, 2.25 stars. Shorter than I expected, but a nice little match to kick off Impact. It never got into the next gear or anything, but the action was crisp and there were some solid moments. Then we had, a lot of backstage stuff and the whole 9 yards. And then we heard from the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers, they cut a promo and they were interrupted by Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, but the Good Brothers, they got the last laugh. They got the Magic Killer in there. So, yeah. Then backstage moment with Heath Slater. And then that didn't really lead to anything. And then knockout tag team match, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz against Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh. Havoc and Nevaeh win in 6 minutes and 6 seconds, 2.5 stars. Good solid tag match that pitted the two teams effectively against each other. Finish was a bit abrupt, but the work was good. The two teams matched up against each other better than I would have expected a few weeks ago. Rhino against Sean Hernandez. Rhino wins in 4 seconds. No comment. We hear from the new World Heavyweight Champion, Eddie Edwards. And, good promo there. And then some more backstage stuff. And Eddie Edwards got interrupted by the world-class maniac, Eric Young. And a lot went down there. A lot of hell broke loose there. And Eddie Edwards will be defending the World Heavyweight Championship on the next show tomorrow night against Trey Miguel. So he's going to be one of those fighting champions. I would love to see that. So we'll see. Moose went up against Falaba in another one of those TNA World Heavyweight Championship matches. Moose won it in 3 minutes and 37 seconds. 1 3/4 star. Too short to really mean anything, but they worked all right. Pretty typical Moose dominates a guy match that has been the norm during his quote-unquote title reign. And then the big main event, the World Tag Team title match on the line. The North defending against the Motor City Machine Guns. Winners of the match in 14 minutes and 10 seconds. And new Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley. 3 3/4 star, fight of the night. Those two teams worked fantastically against each other, and there was a lot of great back and forth action. Guns win the titles. They end the North's record-setting tag team title run. Good for them. 7.5 out of 10. It was a reset episode this past week as needed due to the major events that took place at Slammiversary. Not as much in-ring action and a lot of setup for storylines, but it was all solid to good stuff, topped off with a damn good Impact tag team title bout in the main event with the title switch. Very good show overall, and I'm looking forward to see where Impact goes from here. They have all the potential right now to really catch on fire. So, no complaints from me. Fantastic show, especially that main event. Go out of your way to see it if you can. So, that's really all there is to say there. Now let's quickly get into 205 Live. Leon Ruff went up against Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick won in 3 minutes and 46 seconds. That was a squash match, so nothing to really get into there. Everrise and Tahuti Miles, they squared off against Mansoor, Danny Burch, and Oni Lorcan in a 6-man tag bout. Oni Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Mansoor win the match. 8 minutes, 10 seconds, 2 3/4 star. Fun and had the right winner. Mansoor has now pinned Miles on 3 straight shows. They crammed a bunch in the 8 minutes they were given. And the ending sequence with all 6 men firing off moves was nice. 6 3/4 to 7 out of 10. Fun show this week with Drake Maverick squashed and a solid 6-man tag. The show continues to be a breeze to watch, and it's just like 20 minutes of solid wrestling. Nothing blow away, but easy to digest, and everything makes sense. So that's really all there is to say on that. So that will put the bow on this very newsworthy edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in this evening, as always, especially tonight. And we're going to put the graphic up one more time, as we did at the start of this show here this evening. We will next be with you on Wednesday night at 10:30 over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, for Wednesday Night Mayhem, as we will review AEW, Dynamite, and NXT as always. Thursday night, Strictly Sports, we'll be back on with that. We're going to be previewing the opening action of the Stanley Cup playoffs, as that'll be starting up this weekend. We're going to talk about all 8 of the qualifier series, as well as the round robin tournament with the top 4 teams in the East and the West. So a big Stanley Cup show on Thursday night. And then Friday night, 10:30, Cerebral Smack Talk with MF on Brace Fan 95. And then 1 week from the night, we'll be back here on right here on the Tone 25 for another edition of Ridiculously Raw as we continue the road to SummerSlam. So that'll do it for this. So until Wednesday night, for Wednesday Night Mayhem, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher, the Twisted Angel Didi Woodson, and I'm pleased to announce that Didi Woodson will be returning to our show next week. So we're very happy to hear that, and we can't wait to have Didi back on with us. We miss her very much, and we hope all is well with her and her family, and can't wait to see her on here next week. And of course, always and forever, Derek Ferreira. And as I always say, the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Mayhem, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody that's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And before we wrap up tonight, one final time, on behalf of all of us here at the Wrestling Forum, family of shows, and Strictly Sports and all that, like I said before, I'll say it again as we close. To Regis Philbin, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. But most importantly, thank you for Regis Philbin. Good night, my friends.